Good morning, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. So the market is doing pretty good today. It's awesome to see that. It's been a rough past couple of weeks, and the market's popping, so that's awesome to see. But more importantly, the growth stocks are back. DraftKings is one, it had an amazing day yesterday, but DraftKings is also looking pretty good today. If we look at them in pre-market, they're back above 32. Over the past 2 days, they went from like $27.50 all the way up to $32.30. So, Tom, it looks like the bleeding has stopped, and thank God.
Yeah, it looks like it stopped for now, at least. I'm really glad to see them up again today, Mike. I'm really happy to see how they passed up above that $30 resistance yesterday. I thought that was awesome to see. And then at the end of the day, they even held up there and they were looking really strong. And I love how they're coming up to 32. I just think that they had a really nice move this morning. Hopefully, when the market opens here in a couple of minutes, it holds up, because sometimes lately we've been seeing the market go up in pre-market and then fall off at open. So hopefully we see it continue up today at market open. I think that'll be awesome. And I think that with the way DraftKings is holding $30, they might end up going up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that the bleeding has stopped, because I would every single day it would just be like new low, or not new low, but it would be brutal. So finally the bleeding stopped. Thank God. That's awesome to see. But yeah, I mean, we have the market opening in a couple minutes. Disney's doing pretty good as well. Definitely keep them on your watch list. They're doing pretty dang good. Tom, Palantir is actually up today too. I know that Palantir has been really, really struggling over the past couple weeks, and they definitely do have a lot of growth potential.
Yeah, and even as some of the other growth stocks were kind of bouncing, Palantir just kept going down. They fell through that $20 support, which was definitely not good. And you're right, they definitely look pretty decent today. Just like DraftKings, they actually closed up pretty well. And I love the way that they're holding their ground today. If they could break out above 1950, I think that'll make for a pretty awesome move. But, I'm definitely eyeing up Palantir as well. I know they have a lot of those government contracts and stuff like that, keeping them afloat. And, you would think that they would do pretty well in the longer term. So definitely eyeing them up. And one that I was really eyeing up down here, Mike, is also Corsair. I know that they are kind of like Palantir. Like, while some of the other stocks were going up, they just also kept tanking off to the downside. But again, this morning, they look pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, most stocks are green today. We have NEO up 6%. There we go. NEO's up big, Run's up big. AI is going to be huge, I think. Look at this one. AI up almost 5%. They got destroyed on their earnings report, and it wasn't even bad. I joined the conference call, and I looked through their report. It wasn't bad at all. They also have a good amount of growth potential, so they're green. Fiverr's green, Square's green, Upwork, Baba, Tom, lots of green today. There we go.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see Baba continuing to the upside as well. I know that I saw them gapping up very well in pre-market today. That was a very nice move to see. Kind of leading my watch list to the upside today is actually Intel, believe it or not, up 7%. I know they had some awesome news last night in pre-market or in after hours, so hopefully they continue up. But man, they're really leading my watch list up 6.8% now, with Enphase, Mike, one of your favorites, actually right behind. Look at Enphase on the recovery today. They actually popped up above that 220 resistance. It looks like that might now act as support, and it looks like a pretty nice momentum play here.
There we go. All right, so we have Mass Money with the first comment saying, please tell me NVIDIA is going back down. Lost $350 on the puts. Well, it doesn't look like NVIDIA is going back down, at least right now. In terms of day trades, it's so important that you have a stop loss and a profit target, but NVIDIA definitely sucked yesterday with that call out, but either way, just make sure you have a plan in place before you enter any day trades. It's super important. But yeah, NVIDIA is definitely up a decent amount right now, and plus just all stocks are really up right now. I mean, my whole watch list is basically green, and the market's popping.
Yeah, it really is. It's just a really good day for the market. So keep in mind, NVIDIA is just going to follow along there. Even if we do think that they are overextended here still on the daily chart, you just have to keep in mind they did have a couple of big moves to the downside. So we always have to be careful with that. They are gapping up today. So I will say be careful. It looks like they might be going back to the upside. So just wanted to throw that one out there. But Mike, I actually have AI rocketing all the way up to the top of my watch list. And it looks like you were right. They are getting some pretty good movement here at open.
There we go. I think they're awesome for some short put options right now, along with so many other stocks. So it should be really fun there. There's so many stocks that are great to buy right now. Literally, my whole watch list is green, but I love AI for the or I don't want to say I love it. I love stocks more than AI for the long term, but AI is good for the long term. Enphase is great. Run's great. Fiverr is great. We have Teladoc at a great level. Upwork, DraftKings, PENN, Spotify, Baba if you want to get a little risky, Redfin, Corsair, Palantir, Zoom, Chewy. What else do we have? Disney's awesome. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many good stocks to buy right now.
Yeah, there is. And man, these chip stocks are still going up. Like we have MU, Intel here. It's just crazy to see that the whole sector with the chips are continuing to fly up. Like we have the bigger ones like AMD and Nvidia actually lagging behind a little bit. Some of these other like more beaten down ones are moving up a little bit better today. We even have Clover up in the green, Mike, up 4%. Look at how low Clover got over the past couple of weeks. I know that we haven't really talked about them much because they've been dying off, but man, they're all the way down to $4 a share. They almost fell 50% from that $8 area that they were at just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that is insane. I really haven't been watching it too much, but yeah, it definitely got beaten down big. And then how about Wish too? Like I know Wall Street Bets was huge into Wish, and that's a pretty similar setup.
Yeah, it is. It actually almost moved the exact same way. They almost fell a similar percentage wise too, down to $3.11 from up above $5. Definitely not looking good there. It's just definitely a crazy setup. But I'll tell you what, it looks like they are trying to come back to the upside with some of these other stocks, Mike. And if we do see the growth sector continue to pop off, I would not be surprised to see Wish and Clover possibly get some good moves. And I'm not saying they're going to move like an AI is today up 7% or anything, but hey, they are running pretty good today and they are starting to break out above those pre-market highs.
There we go. All right, so I just want to welcome everyone to the stream really quickly. Thank you guys so much for joining, and welcome Jamie, Mass Money, Vicky, George, Carlos, Keisha, and Penny. Thank you guys so much for joining. Let us know what stocks you're watching, and we'll definitely take a look at them. We have Mass asking about Baba calls. Baba's not bad, I mean, these China stocks are definitely popping up. But here's the thing, like if we look at intraday right now, Baba's getting destroyed right at open. They're still up 2.5%. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it's just, yes, it's exploding up, but I don't know if you want to be buying with this type of selling pressure right at open.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also been some news about, some news with China lately. Like I know yesterday that news came out that we actually are going to be diplomatically boycotting the Olympics. So I want to say there will still be U.S. athletes at the Olympics, but apparently Biden's administration is not going to be sending representation to that. So that's going to be very interesting as far as that goes. Maybe that's why Bob is coming down here at open. But, in the end, it's going to have a huge risk with all the China news. And you have to pay really close attention to that because, there's always different news that come out. Like I know that Biden's actually going to be meeting with the president of Russia pretty soon. And he's supposed to, hit him pretty hard on some different subjects. And, whenever he talks with the president of China, of course, there's always news with that. And we're always putting out different statements along with China. So you really have to monitor that situation pretty closely.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right, so we have Penny mentioning CNTB, and they said vicious bag holders, vicious target, 27. So the chart looks pretty rough, but if you're in it, I really hope it pops for you.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing as far as biopharma goes, but they better come out with some big discovery to get up to 27. I mean, wow, that's going to be a pretty big rise. I really hope that it happens. And, it looks like it created a decent support around $4.10. I will say, though, it's just not the stock for me. There's definitely a lot of different opportunities out there. This stock might go up, but, I'm definitely eyeing up more of stuff like DraftKings, Intel, Corsair, even just a lot of these stocks that are down here at these lower levels. And also just keep in mind that biopharma company, it's going to move a lot probably off of its news.
Yep. Tom, how's good old AMC doing?
AMC, not bad, actually, up 4.9%. Looks like they're turning around, but I will say AMC had a very bad week last week, falling down from $40 all the way down to lows of like 25 at the bottom. Definitely not looking good there. But I will say though, intraday today, Mike, not bad. It is coming up pretty well. It looks like there is a decent support forming around 25 to $27. And as long as this holds up, I think AMC might have a chance to recover up a little bit. I don't think that they're going to get all the way back up to $40 or anything, but it definitely looks like it might move up over the next day or possibly later on as we move on today.
Awesome. So, Tom, what are you seeing in the market? Like, I know we have a ton of great movement. Are there like any specific setups that are really catching your eye?
Man, some of the big ones were actually Intel. I could not believe that Intel, it's showing that they're up 5%, but I'll be honest, they had a very nice move last night. From market open yesterday, they opened around $49. They ran all the way up to $56 in after hours, and it came out and said that they might do an offering on their self-driving like AI software company. And I think that's going to be very interesting to hear as that goes forward. I know that they've been getting into some AI self-driving stuff like with Tesla and different stuff like that. And Tesla's apparently switching to NVIDIA now. So hopefully, it's going to be very interesting. Or I mean, they're actually switching to AMD. Sorry about that. But yeah, Tesla's used a bunch of different people. And, it's nice to see Intel kind of getting in the game and popping up like this. It's a very good move on the daily chart. They've been getting beaten down quite a bit. I'm glad to see them up. So I'm really eyeing that up. And then, Mike, another one that I'm really eyeing up is AI. I know that we talked about this one earlier this morning, but, we've been talking about this one for a few months now. I remember I was eyeing them up all the way back at like $60 a share, and it just kept going down. So I'm definitely going to be eyeing them up down here around 30. I feel like it might be a pretty good pickup here, especially for shares. The IV looks pretty high, though.
And Tom, I like this sounds pretty crazy, but I feel like with AI, so like right now it's at like $32, and I'm looking at the pricing on these leaps, and the 30 strike leaps for January 19th of 2024, all right? 2024, 30 strike leaps cost around, you could say $1,500, which you might initially think like, oh wow, that's expensive, but that means your break-even price is at $45. So it's like if this stock pops up to 60 or 80 or 120 or whatever by 2024, like that could be insane. So I just thought that the options pricing would have been a little bit higher than it currently is. So I don't know. It's just one to keep on your radar. Personally, I thought that options pricing was pretty good, but then again, the stock can tank down and the options can easily go to zero.
Yeah, they can, but honestly, that is pretty good pricing, though, Mike. Like you said, I was definitely expecting to hear higher numbers than that for 2024. I thought maybe that would be 2023, the one you were talking about. But yeah, that's awesome to hear that they're that cheap. If we go to like 2023, man, I wonder like where we could go here. Let me go look on the chain. If you go to like 2023 30 strike calls, it's actually like $1,100. So yeah, not too bad, Mike. Honestly, like the Leafs might be the way to go here. Like whenever we see how cheap these are, honestly, that's not bad at all. And if you got 100 shares, it'll cost you $2,200. So, or actually, I mean 3,200. So it might not be a bad way to just get a couple leaps there. You'd honestly, limit a little bit of risk too, as long as you cut it at the right time.
Yeah, I might buy some later. I don't know.
Yeah, you're tempting me now, Mike.
There we go. All right, so then we have Mass asking about NEO. So let's take a look. NIO, they're up like 4% today. In my opinion, it's like the ideal way to play this is just for like long-term plays. With, I guess you could say, the growth stock destruction plus the crazy China news, there's so much unpredictable. I guess you could say there's so many aspects with this stock that are completely unpredictable. So short-term trading is just like a coin flip, and IV's high, so you don't want that combination. But then again, they're at a pretty good level, just generally speaking. So, if you grab some shares and maybe hold them for a couple years, or maybe even some leaps or call debit spreads or short puts, I think those are all great strategies that can be deployed for this one.
Yeah, I think that leaps and shares are definitely the smarter way to go. Definitely shares on this one, I would say. The leaps could be pretty good, but like you said, the IV's kind of high. Hopefully the pricing's a little bit lower though, kind of like what we had with AI. But I will say there's a big support at $30 on NIO, and it looks like we bounced off of it yesterday, and we're coming right back to the upside. I'll be honest, it doesn't look bad. I know that we have been going down here since market open, but we're definitely a long way away from that support down there at 30. I really liked yesterday, Mike, how at market open, you can see on the, we'll just go to the 1 minute candles to make it a little bit easier. You can see how it had a huge move to the downside, touched that support that almost acted as like a nice wall, and then it came right back to the upside. I really like the way that it confirmed off of that so quickly. I think that shows that there's a big wall of investors right there, and that $30 might end up holding up. So definitely look at NIO. I feel like that is if we see BABA and the China stocks keep turning back around, that'll be awesome for NIO. And I think NIO is a little bit better than BABA and those other stocks anyways, but there is always still that small chance of the delisting risk going on. So just be careful with it. But I will say that $30 support does not look bad, Mike, especially for sharing.
Yeah. All right, and then we have Hunter saying Peloton still sucking, which is expected. But what about Zoom, Hunter? I mean, this one's still doing bad too. I really like Zoom for the long term, and hopefully they turn around with all these growth stocks popping.
Yeah, they're only up like 1% today. We're seeing a lot of other stocks up like 3%, 6%, stuff like that. Definitely not good to see Zoom doing this. Going back to Peloton, yeah, Peloton definitely looks worse today in my opinion. They're kind of turning off here at market open. Actually, not looking too good here. I don't even know what to think of Peloton, but I will say there's a big support on Peloton right around $40. So maybe that'll end up holding up. I know, Mike, the one that I've been looking at while it's been down has been PayPal pretty heavily. It looks like they're kind of popping back up today, up 2.5%. If this one starts to go, I feel like this one will have a really good chance to go up. I feel like this company is a little bit better than like Peloton or Zoom, just as far as, being established, not as far as growth.
For sure. So yeah, there we go. We have Alex saying good morning, and then Zoom, come on Zoom, upwards. I know, let's go. I mean, it should be great. Their earnings have been pretty good. They've been beating their own guidance. They've been beating the market's expectations, and they've been doing pretty good. But I think it's just part of like the market overall. I guess you could say just sell off. Like some stocks, like you guys know I love DraftKings, and they've been getting destroyed lately, and it's not like DraftKings came out with any horrible news on their end. It's really about, in my opinion, the fear of rising rates and, just a sell-off, like when it rains it pours. When you have stocks breaking lows, then you have short sellers coming in, and then you have people who own shares cutting losses, and then you have, short-term traders who are short, and it just becomes like a giant, like snowball effect. But either way, it looks like these stocks are finally turning around to the upside.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing to see. I'm really hoping that they form some nice bottoms down here. And, with DraftKings being right around that $30 support, and, with a lot of the other companies being around support as well, I feel like that they might, if we start to see some good upwards movement, I feel like that with these stocks also being at support, it's just going to give investors, like an extra boost of confidence here. And I hope that we also see some bigger players come in and start buying. Like, I know that we've been talking a lot about Kathy Wood and, the Kathy's curse lately, but hopefully she comes in and starts buying some of these companies down here. I know she's been buying DraftKings a little bit over the past few weeks, and I'm definitely going to be interested to see like what type of positions have been taken down here, because, once these reports start coming out, I think that we'll get a little bit better of an idea on, who's buying what down here. And hopefully we see some big names, even besides Kathy Wood. Like, there's a lot of funds out there, and I just can't wait to see some of the bigger players, like what type of positions they're taking, and even seeing like some good leap options over the next like couple of weeks, Mike. I feel like that if these stocks start to turn around, we might see some pretty big positions being taken up in the options market.
I'm with you 100%. There we go. So one stock that is moving pretty big today is Apple. They are up over 3%. They made brand new all-time highs. They're exploding up, and they're really carrying the market.
Yeah, they are. I love the way they broke out above that 170 resistance. That was actually awesome to see them do that today, making the new all-time high. Man, Apple just does not slow down, Mike. I remember, whenever they were around $115, $120 a share, they were getting a lot of flack for, just going slightly flat for those couple of months there. But man, they exploded up to new highs in no time. They're all the way up to 170 a share now. And keep in mind, guys, that Apple had that 4-to-1 split over a year ago, they would be a lot higher than they are right now if it wasn't for that split. So, keep in mind, this is split adjusted, so they would be looking even better, but it's a really nice move to see them up 3% like this, Mike, up to 170. And, I saw an article from CNBC last week that pretty much said that Apple is a safe haven for investors. They have like one of the best balance sheets out there. They have a lot of cash on hand and they keep innovating. So in the end, it seems like Apple's almost just, I'll be honest, I think they're probably the best stock to own on the market. I think they're the highest by, a valuation, aren't they, Mike? I think they're like a $2 trillion company now.
Yeah, I'll check right now. Let's see.
I believe the last I heard, though, they were like right around $2 trillion, though. Like, it's just, you almost can't go wrong with Apple over the past couple of years.
Tom, get closer to 3 trillion. They're at 2.7 trillion dollars.
Wow, that must have been an amazing past few months for them then. That's awesome to hear. I can't believe that they're that high now. That's amazing, actually.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I remember, what was it? Like, it was a couple years ago, obviously. I think it was, it was the day Apple or Amazon or whoever just got the $1 trillion market cap valuation. Like, everyone was going crazy. It was like the first U.S. company or publicly listed company to reach a $1 trillion valuation. And, fast forward a couple of years, and now we're saying Apple is almost at $3 trillion, which is crazy to see. After Apple at 2.7 trillion, we have Microsoft at 2.5 trillion, Google at like 1.9 trillion, and then Amazon at 1.7. So it's clearly these stocks have been doing pretty well over the past couple of years.
Yeah, they have. No wonder the inflation's going up, man. No, no wonder when we have stocks like Apple going from 1 trillion to 3 trillion in a couple of years. But
yeah.
But still, though, for sure, prices are definitely going up. The market valuations are definitely going up too. Man, I'm really waiting for Amazon to get a breakout, Mike. Like, they double topped up here around 37.50 or 37.75, and they've been having a lot of issues breaking out above here. If we start to see a nice uptrend, maybe we can almost bank on them starting to break out like Apple if we see some good Amazon numbers come out.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's see. I'm very curious if Amazon's gonna split anytime soon. Like, I know a lot of the higher ups at Amazon were like, no, we're not gonna split, but it comes to a point where if Amazon's trading for $5,000 a share, it's like you probably want to split soon.
Yeah, because at some point investors they're going to start losing money just based on, the simple fact that it costs 5,000 a share. And I know you can buy, of course, fractional shares and stuff like that. So of course you could go out and buy, 10% of an Amazon share at, $349. But, in the end, though, it's going to be a lot better to buy the whole thing. And a lot of investors just don't even know that you can do fractional shares also. So I'm with you, Mike. I really hope that they split eventually. I think it'll be smart for them. I know, though, that they've also been looking at it as like some type of strategy, for them not splitting. But in the end, though, we're seeing these companies splitting like Apple and Tesla, and they seem to be doing pretty good. So, I would think that Amazon splitting wouldn't affect them too much as far as, like their stock going down or anything. I don't know if they're just trying to be the most expensive stock on the market or what. I mean, obviously they're not going to pass Berkshire, but they're obviously known as one of the more expensive ones.
Yeah, and another thing that that you want to keep in mind is when companies split, like obviously their share price might get reduced by one, or I should say two, three, four, or five, or whatever, however they decide to split.
Yeah.
But obviously the total shares outstanding gets multiplied by a decent amount, and with that comes more trading, kind of like Tom said. So if they did split, I guess you could say their stock would just be more actively traded, and there would just be like a better. It would just be easier to trade for everyone because, for example, let's say some giant executive at Amazon wanted to sell their shares. Like, look, Amazon's a very liquid company, and there's no problem getting in and out of it by any means. But when you have more shares being traded, like, it just makes it makes the market just more like efficient, you can say. It makes it easier to get in and out, and the spreads will decrease, and it's just overall a good thing. And then now, I don't know if Amazon wants this or not, but retail traders will also have a lot more access to trade not only shares of Amazon, like Tom said, but also the options. Like you look at an option on Amazon for, let's say, like a month out or so, like 40 days out, we can see an at the money option costs like 14 grand. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. And, that's exactly what I was thinking about too, Mike, was that it will give retail traders a lot more control over Amazon. And, I'm not saying retail traders will be able to control the price at all, but, I will say though, if we see like a big market crash or something, Amazon might fall a lot more if they were lower price and retail traders owned a lot because, there'd be a lot more volatility. Retail traders might sell out faster than, institutions might of their Amazon shares. And maybe that's something Amazon thinks about. I never even really thought about it like that until we started talking about it, Mike. But, definitely sounds interesting. Maybe they don't want or retail traders to own too many shares because it might make Amazon more volatile than they're wanting.
True. That's another thing too. All right, there we go. And then we have Iranical saying, I wake up now. What happened? Everything's going up. Yes, thank God. Stocks are finally popping up. Apple's exploding. And basically, all of the growth stocks are up. Literally, my entire watch list is green. Thank God. DraftKings is popping. Run, Upwork, everything's popping. So, really, it was just about time. I mean, these stocks can only fall so much before we see a rebound. So things are popping, and it's great to see.
Yeah, even the SPY, it really broke out above like that 465 pre-market resistance, looking really explosive here at open. If we go look at the DIA or the Dow, same story, nice explosive movement. The QQQ honestly leading the way today. So all three indices are moving up together, which is very nice. I know yesterday, Mike, we saw the tech sector kind of dipping down at market open, and then the Dow was actually kind of flying up. And, it was very interesting to see that type of contrast. But today, almost everything's up, which is great. And yesterday, at the end of the day, the market got a big influx of nice momentum to the upside, which was awesome. And, it's just it's really nice to see this. I know that, a lot of people well, I should say the news, at least, they haven't been talking too much about that new variant, the Omicron variant. We haven't heard too much about that lately. It seems like the market is kind of brushing this off for right now. And honestly, I'm happy to see it. The SPY's moving up nicely. I really thought that variant might cause some more selling pressure. And I'm really glad to see the market shaking it off. I think that's a really good sign for the next few months. And, hopefully we don't see any more, bad news with cases or anything like that come out because the market's doing pretty well, as it is right now. And hopefully these growth stocks just keep going up with the good news.
Here we go. All right, and then let's see. I know the growth stocks are doing amazing, but I would say the value stocks are doing very, very well too. One that I was really looking at was Starbucks. They are breaking out right now. They're up 2.5%, which is huge for a company like Starbucks. They're at a good level. They're a solid company, and it's just one to really keep on your radar because I know everyone loves to focus on stocks like, I guess you could say, Palantir or Apple or Tesla or whatever, but a lot of times the growth stocks are also pretty good for some trades.
Yeah, it could be actually, and it looks pretty good to the upside to me. On the daily chart, looks especially good, especially at that 110 support, like we talked about yesterday. I thought that was an amazing level there, and I'm really glad to see Starbucks going up like this. And I think that we could see them maybe come up and retest 120 this week, Mike. I would not be surprised with the upwards movement that we're having, and it's a very nice start to the week so far. I really hope that as the week goes on, that this continues to that the market continues up with this type of momentum. I know that at the end of the week, we're going to have some inflation data coming out with the CPI numbers being released. And that's definitely going to be a big thing on Friday. But, we honestly have like almost the whole week. So hopefully we see a nice move on Starbucks up towards 120. And I'm also eyeing up, Mike, other stocks like Caterpillar. I know they're also on the uptrend back to the upside with these value stocks. And I'd really love to see them go up with this infrastructure bill news that we've heard over the past few months.
There we go. All right, and then we have Mass Money saying DWAC puts still or nah. Probably not. It's up 5%. Implied volatility is 144%, which is insane. So for that reason, I mean, I would just say no. One, for the reason that it's up, or the implied volatility is 144%. That's insane. Like, you're gonna pay a crazy amount for those puts. So I would say definitely not. The stock can easily fall and the puts can still lose money. On top of that, it looks like it's trending slightly to the upside right now, but I would just say it's a no play.
Yeah, I would say that that's the case for me as well. I like this stock. It could be good for shares for the long term, but I'll be honest, they have lots of stuff going on. The SEC just announced like a subpoena or an investigation into them yesterday, so definitely be a little careful with it. They could definitely fall with that news, but they also had good news over the weekend that said that they raised $1 billion in capital from investors, so that was good. We can see they popped up in pre-market yesterday and then tanked off with the bad SEC news. So I don't know, Mike. Like this company is very interesting. It's like a new social media company. Obviously, Trump's affiliated with it. So, there's a lot of outliers here. And I would say just be really careful with it. Kind of like Mike said, it's just almost like no play for me right now. But I am eyeing it up for the future if it starts to get some good movement.
Yep. All right, and then we have Vicky saying the market is doing well because GSK medicines effective against Omicron. News of the morning. There we go. So I'm just happy these stocks are popping back up. Most stocks are rallying right now, like basically everything. So that's awesome to see. Of course, we have Apple running up. UPST's not doing too bad. Snap, Fubo. I mean, there's so many stocks popping. It's a pretty great day. Tom, do you see any good setups right now? Like anything for like short-term trading or anything like that?
I'll be honest, now that you showed me UPST right here, this does not look bad. And, I'll be honest, I am not a big fan of UPST at all. I really like it, though, for shorter term moves. And I think it can be awesome for like some good options plays if you're catching it at the right time. I just don't like it for shares. But in the end, it seems like a pretty decent moving company. If they start to break out today up above like this 190 or 191 resistance up here, I think that we could definitely see Upstart possibly have a good move. They have a lot of momentum today at market open. And, I really like the way that they're turning up. If they can break this resistance and break this 1,000 SMA right here, I think it'll make for an awesome move, Mike. And, like I said, I'm not a big fan of Upstart, but they've been getting destroyed over the past couple months, kind of like what we've been looking for while it was going up there, Mike. And I'll be honest, it got destroyed quite a bit, all the way down towards 150. And I could see it popping up for a few days, especially if the market starts to come up.
For sure. And then even Boeing's having a day, Tom. They're up like 1.6%. And over the past couple days, they've been doing pretty good.
Man, they need this. They're actually coming up and retesting this 210 resistance. Boeing's had some pretty crazy technicals over the past few months, to say the least. And, they fell below this 210 support, looked pretty bad, fell even below $200. It was looking pretty bad there for a while. They're honestly all the way back up to 210. I think it looks like almost a bit like an inverse head and shoulders setup, Mike. Like we can see there's a little bit of a head down here around 190, some big shoulders right around $200 even. And I feel like it's looking like a pretty nice setup back to the upside. If we could break back above 210, I think that we might have a pretty straight shot up towards like 225 or 230, kind of like what we did the last time.
There we go. Love to see it. And then we have J Deep mentioning Microsoft. So what are you seeing?
Microsoft actually looking really good, kind of like Upstart. It just has a lot of nice upwards movement today, like a lot of stocks do. I will say I love how it gapped up. The setup is good in my eyes. I think it looks like a nice bullish setup for intraday and for the next couple days. So I think it looks pretty decent, Mike. I don't know what you're seeing, but as far as levels, definitely a good intraday support right around 330 even. And then there's going to be a pretty big resistance up here right around 330, 350. I would say if you make them pass above 330, 350, you'd be pretty golden getting some calls right at that point.
There we go. Should be good. And then we have Vicky saying, hit the like, guys. So yeah, if you guys could hit the like button, it would help us out so much, and we would greatly appreciate it. And then we have Vicky mentioning AFRM. So this stock was doing pretty good it's been doing good basically all year, but it was doing really good a couple weeks ago. I like it for the long term. For the short term, it's also popping up pretty well. To me, it seems like it could be like a little bit of a fake out. Not saying today, but like over like the next couple of weeks. Tom, you might disagree with me. Let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like this one could end up going back up. Honestly, it's kind of like an Upstart to me. It's almost like in the same exact type of setup. They're honestly almost in the same sector too. And just looking at it, they've both gotten beaten down. They're both kind of around support. Neither of them are my favorite for the long term, but I will say they're bouncing around support pretty well. AFRM bounced right off of $100 even, which is pretty good. So hopefully that level ends up holding up. If not, then AFRM might end up going down. I don't really think they'll fall below 100, but I'm kind of with you, Mike. I'm more of just neutral on it. I feel like that there's a lot better opportunities in the market right now. And whenever I go intraday, though, I will say AFRM doesn't look too bad. I will say, though, I almost like Upstart setup a little bit better with the way that they're at like that 190 resistance. I think it's a little bit easier to trade Upstart right now, but I do like AFRM. I just, I'm kind of torn between this $100 support, Mike. Like it looks like a good bounce, but at the same time, it's almost like they're rocketing up too fast, in my opinion.
Yep. Right, and then we have asking about PayPal. So PYPL, they're looking pretty good. This one actually looks pretty dang good.
Yeah, it does actually. Like I said earlier, I'm really eyeing up PayPal. I think this one's going to be one of the better dip buys here in the market. PayPal has been such a revolutionary company, and keep in mind, this was almost started by like Elon Musk back in the day. So, definitely a good company. I know that they're probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And the good news is with PayPal is that it hasn't just been PayPal going down. We've been seeing AFRM go down. We've also been seeing stuff like Visa tanking off quite a bit. So I feel like the PayPal's just been going down with its sector and with the overall market. So I feel like they could get a nice recovery back to the upside. Like I said, I like them for the long term. I don't think that they're going to go anywhere. And their intraday move this morning is really good. They broke out above 188 here and had a pretty nice explosive move.
Yeah, awesome. Then we have George saying Bitcoin is slowly recovering, already above 50K. There we go. So that's awesome to see. If we look on the chart right now, Tom already has it pulled up, and yeah, it's popping right back up, and it looks like it's bouncing off that support right around, what is that, 50K, Tom?
Yeah, it is right around 50,000. As we can see over the weekend, we had that huge red candle on Saturday for some reason. Bitcoin fell from like 54,000 all the way down to like 42,000. And now we're all the way back up, like right above that 50,000 type of support that you mentioned there, Mike. And yeah, it looks pretty good back to the upside. I'll be honest, Bitcoin looks like it's kind of recovering up like with PayPal, DraftKings, and some of those other stocks. And I'll tell you what, I know I know Bitcoin has been kind of moving with the market lately. Like as the market was dropping, Bitcoin was also dropping on the COVID fears and different inflation news and stuff like that. And now that the market's recovering a little bit, it's really nice to see Bitcoin going up. So it seems like Bitcoin's actually moving up with the market, which is very interesting. And I'm really glad to see it though. And I hope it continues.
There we go. Awesome stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of stocks doing very, very well today. Even Roku's doing decent. What do you think about Roku?
Yeah, Roku's not bad. It's personally not my favorite stock, but I will say heading into the holiday season and being at this key. Now, this is going to be really key here, actually. $200 even, guys. This is actually a really good bounce. Now that I see it's $200 even, definitely throw this one on the radar. This is going to be pretty good. I think this support's actually bouncing pretty well. We're already up to 220, which is very nice. And, Roku definitely I should say they usually do better during the holiday season. They sell a lot of TVs. They generally do very well on like Black Friday and different stuff like that. So I feel like they should do pretty well over the next few months. And I'll be honest, they got beaten down pretty hard, Mike. Like I said, it's not my favorite stock in the world, but with it being at this $200 support and with them being in the tech sector, I feel like they could definitely get a nice move back up. It's just not my favorite, but I would definitely buy shares. I think the technicals look great.
Awesome. All right, and then Vicky was mentioning of AFRM levels for day trading. So what do you think about these levels for just like a quick day trade?
For a quick day trade, I will say they are up a little bit intraday. It looks like they are kind of hitting off this 120 resistance along with the 1,000 SMA here. So I will say there is a little bit of intraday resistance right there. If you're looking to play this to the upside, I would definitely make it break out above that. I don't think I would play this one to the downside. Of course, it's hitting resistance and going down a little bit, but I think I would just wait for it to maybe break out up above 121. If you see a breakout up above that, I think it can make for an awesome scalp today. But just make it break out first. I will say the 1000 SMA is generally a pretty hard area to get through, and it's at the key 120 resistance. So it's kind of hitting two levels at once here. If it breaks above 121, though, I would definitely eye up some calls.
Awesome. And then how about Twitter, Tom? It's looking pretty good. It's up almost 4%.
Yeah, it is. Look at that nice gap. I love to see it bounce off that 45 support today, intraday. Looks pretty good. It's moving up nice, following the 100 SMA. The technicals are great on it. You almost can't ask for any better movement. We have the market on a nice continuation back to the upside. I think it looks pretty good. And man, if Twitter starts to go up over the next few weeks, and let's just say Twitter, maybe by the end of January or something, ends up around $55 or $60, we'll be looking pretty good on it.
I'm with you. There we go. All right, and then we have. I'm just trying to see some like hot stocks today. It looks like GameStop is trying to do good. I know they have earnings pretty soon, so maybe we're seeing like the early stages of a pre-earnings run-up.
Maybe we are. That's actually a good point. They have earnings tomorrow after close. That's going to be very interesting to see. Talking about the earnings, why don't we just go ahead and bring up the calendar really fast? Or here it is. But yeah, so you can see today actually after close, we have ChargePoint, Dave and Buster's. I think those are going to be pretty big. Now tomorrow after close is where we have GameStop. That's obviously probably going to be the most watched one this week. They're pretty big. I think, though, in my opinion, Thursday is going to be the biggest day, obviously, after close. We have some huge companies. I know, Mike, you really like Chewy. Oracle, I think, is going to be humongous. They've been a huge company over the past few years. Lulu's going to be big. Costco's going to be big. Like I said, I know you're watching Chewy, Mike. I know they're a pretty nice company as well. And let's go check them out. I think they're kind of in a pretty good setup on the daily, and they're actually recovering up pretty nice, Mike.
Yeah, I really do like Chewy for the long term for multiple reasons, and I think this earnings report will be huge. And the good thing, and this is just a slightly good thing, but for the past couple of weeks, everyone knows that growth stocks have been getting destroyed, right? And even if companies reported good earnings, a lot of them still got destroyed on their report, right? Like after they released their earnings. So my thought is like, let's say Chewy reports like either good earnings or decent earnings. It looks like the growth market is turning around a little bit. So maybe that can help with the performance of the stock afterwards. Like I don't know, it might be a long shot, Tom, but I feel like considering that we have a lot of these growth stocks like not just holding their ground, but actually moving up a good amount, I would think that would help with earnings at least just a little bit.
Yeah, I would think so too. That should definitely help. And if there already is some upwards momentum, you would think that would just give people even more confidence. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it could definitely have a little bit of a bigger move maybe than expected. I will say though, just it's always going to be tough. I really hope that it gets a nice gap to the upside, Mike. But I will say their last earnings did not go too well, and they had a little bit of a gap to the downside. And we've been seeing a lot of companies like Zoom and different stuff like that starting to go down quite a bit on their earnings. So if the earnings come in and let's say they have a positive EPS or something, I think it could be pretty great. But if their numbers come in and they're a little bit lower than usual, it could also be pretty bad. So I'm with you, Mike. I think the upwards movement could get accelerated. But we still always have to be careful, of course. And I know you weren't trying to say it in that sense, but yeah, I always think just be really careful with it. It's going to be really tough over the next few days, just like we see with Zoom, Peloton, and a lot of the other ones. And I know Chewy's kind of like an online company, and maybe they got like a bit of a boost with Cyber Monday and Black Friday and stuff.
Yeah, here we go. And then we have Mass saying, any good swings for the week? So Mass, we definitely have a lot of plays in the swings channel in the Discord. I mean, Tom called out the Twitter calls yesterday, and they're looking pretty good. So definitely check out that swings channel in the Discord. But besides that, I mean, I think your best bet, Mass, is just buying. I mean, I don't want to say any growth stock, but there are so many deals right now. Like, we love DraftKings, but Corsair, Teladoc, Zoom, Redfin, there's so many of them. Disney, I already said Zoom, but Corsair, Palantir. I like Chewy. I know Tom has been mentioning Intel a little bit lately, but there's so many deals out there, and I feel like if you if you like pick up shares or maybe leaps of some of these stocks at awesome levels right now, one, it'll be less risky than a short-term swing trade, and two, probably more profitable.
Yeah, it probably will be, to be honest. I know that some of these like longer term plays, lots of people think that, well, if I make 100% over the next year, that's pretty bad or something, but keep in mind, like if you have like $5,000 or $10,000 or, like you just have to keep in mind that percentages are awesome because, you could have $5 and make 100%, which is an awesome trade. But keep in mind, then you'll only be making $5. But if you have $50,000 and you win 100%, you're going to be making $50,000. So it's a lot different. It just depends on how much money you have in the game, how much skins in the market. And I feel like that with the longer term plays, Mike, like you almost just can't go wrong with them sometimes. Like if you just buy them and hold them for the longer term, sometimes it ends up multiplying by way more than people can even fathom. Like if we just go look at, let's just go for a random example like DraftKings here. Like if you would have picked them up at let's just say around IPO, like around 17, maybe $20 or something, you would have made like 350% on the way up. Like it's like there's definitely some good chances here if you just buy some of these and hold them for the longer term.
Yep. All right, and then we have Carlos saying, "Hey guys, I'm still worried about this rally. Think about it. We haven't received a good catalyst and we still have many uncertainties in the short term. I would have expected consolidation maybe, but an impulsive rally, So I know what you mean, and just one thing to keep in mind, like Tom has pulled up right now, the market over the past 2 years especially, it's been exploding, right? And if we look at, the growth stocks specifically, and we see, how they've been tanking down lately, there really wasn't any horrible catalyst to bring them down in the first place besides the fear of rising rates. Besides that, Zoom had really good earnings. DraftKings, in my opinion, has been doing very well lately. Like, I know they're spending a ton of money on marketing, and they had a bad hold in the recent earnings report, but besides that, they've been growing at insane rates. If you look at Palantir, pretty much the same story. Or, like basically all these growth stocks, like they're tanking down a huge amount, and they didn't even have like a huge catalyst to bring them down in the first place. So I definitely know what you mean. But yeah, I mean, either way, it's good to see them popping up. And Carlos, like if you're a little skeptical, it doesn't hurt to maybe buy like a couple shares, just to have something, just something out there because, like maybe if you think the market will fall, you can always just buy like 10% of your intended position now and then, average in.
Yeah, and I will say though that there has been some pretty good news coming out. Like I know he said that there hasn't been any, good catalyst, and yeah, there hasn't been anything that's too exciting, but I will say that there has been some pretty decent news. Like I remember last week, Biden came out and he actually said that he's not going to do any lockdowns and we're not going to do any travel restrictions because of the new variant. So I thought that was really good news. I've been hearing lots of talk about the lockdown and stuff, and I know the market took a bit of a I know it popped up last week whenever that news came out, whichever day that was. But in the end, though, I feel like that this variant news, Mike, like it was getting pretty accelerated there for a while. And now I feel like I keep seeing articles saying like that, this certain vaccine will work against the variant, or, like the CEO of Pfizer comes out and says that they're confident that we can beat Omicron pretty fast. And, so I feel like that there's been some pretty good statements about that at least. And, I feel like the market was going down a lot with those Omicron talks as well. And it just seems like the market's recovering up pretty well. And, I feel like that variant news played a lot into the headlines there is all I'm trying to say.
Yep. All right. And then when we have Vicky saying there's plenty of catalysts, plenty. Hunter said the market never broke its downtrend. Just seemed like the sell-off was worse than it was because of all of our favorite stocks got murdered way beyond the average market. Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I'll say that again. So Hunter said that the market never broke its downtrend. It just seemed like the sell-off was worse than it was because all of our favorite stocks got murdered way beyond the average market. And that's very true. Like a lot of the stocks that retail traders really watch, and especially like some of our favorite stocks like mine, they have very high one, very high implied volatilities, but also pretty high betas. So they're just volatile stocks. If the market moves up 1%, these stocks might move up 6%, and if the market moves down 2%, they might move down 8%. Like I think this is a perfect example of DraftKings right now. The market right now is up 2%. DraftKings is up 6%. So it's definitely that to keep in mind. The growth stocks are very volatile.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to make a big impact on a lot of things too. Like whenever you look at, and the thing is like also with the overall market, Mike, like a lot of these stocks like DraftKings and stuff like that, they don't even hold much weighting in the market. Like, of course, they're in the NASDAQ and they might be in a couple others, but like in the end, like they're not going to be like any market movers or anything like that. Like the bigger ones like Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, and stuff like that are more of what control the market rather than some of these, more of stocks that have recently IPO'd and, stuff like that. So I definitely agree, Mike. That was a really good statement actually by Hunter. I think that was awesome. And, it just goes to show, that a lot of these growth stocks, they have a mind of their own, so they move definitely a lot more drastically than people are used to. And that's another thing to keep in mind. Like Mike said, the market's up 2% and DraftKings is up 6%. And, I've seen days where the market's down 1% and DraftKings up 15%. So it just depends on, how the market's moving that day and how the overall growth sector is doing too, because, that makes a big difference. Like there's plenty of days the SPY is up and a lot of these growth stocks are down.
Yep, and there's a quick correction. DraftKings is not in any indexes right now, or not the Nasdaq or anything like that. But they probably will be added soon.
They're not in the Nasdaq.
Nope, not in the Nasdaq.
Oh, it's listed on here. Well, it's at least listed as it. But
is that the exchange though? Because I don't know.
Yeah, it's the exchange they're on. So I figured they were in there, but I guess they're not.
Yep, for sure. So good stuff there. Tom, do you have like any other stocks you're watching or any setups for the rest of the day?
I did want to kind of talk about Intel's good news really fast, because I did see that this news was pretty drastic, I thought. And, lots of people have been kind of I shouldn't say they're looking down on Intel, but Intel's been moving pretty bad lately, to say the least. Like their company has been pretty bad. If I bring up the daily chart here for INTC and I go to the max daily, I mean, you can see, while stocks like Nvidia and AMD have been making new all-time highs, Intel's been getting destroyed. And, of course, they're having a good day today, but they did have some pretty good news that I wanted to cover. And they're going to be taking their self-driving car unit public mid-2022 in the United States. I think that that's a really cool thing to hear. Apparently, they acquired Mobileye, an Israeli autonomous driving firm, for $15.3 billion in 2017. And it looks like they're actually planning on getting this self-driving car out to the public. And it's very interesting news. But, I just never expected Intel to come out with a self-driving car now. Like, I know that they had been in talks for, different computer chips, different stuff like that. And now we even have them trying to get into the self-driving car sector. It's crazy to hear that companies like Intel, Apple, and different stuff like that are trying to make these electric cars now. And it just seems like that electric car industry, Mike, is getting very competitive. But, it's pretty good news for Intel. I think they needed something to turn them around, but they still need some more good movement.
There we go. So thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. The market's popping, and it's awesome to see. So thank you guys so much for joining, and we hope you have an amazing rest of your day.